Hello, it's David Hoffman, filmmaker, with a story to tell you that I hope you will enjoy. It's about this book and about what is in this book. Look at these things. They're called intaglios. When I was a young man, my dad and I used to go to these auctions, and we didn't have any money. And at the end of the auction, they had boxes in the corner. They'd sell them to you for $1. So my dad bought this and he gave it to me. These things are unbelievably beautiful, incredibly well made, and they're little. What are they? Well, I love stuff like this that gets me thinking, where did this come from? What is this? And that's what I'm about to tell you. So the time is the 17th and 18th century, and the rich, the elite, go on what is called the Grand Tour. Archaeological digs had shown a lot of Italian history, and they felt that was part of what made your education. So a relative, usually, took a young man and a young woman, I'm about to tell you about that, on the Grand Tour. Italy, Germany to some extent, France, Switzerland to some extent, but mostly Italy. And when you went on these Grand Tours, you went to all these sites and you saw all these things, and you bought one of these, an intaglio. If you're real rich, you bought a book. They were beautiful, one in each place. When a boy came back from the Grand Tour, he came back, if he was rich, with trunks of stuff, furniture and paintings and these intaglios, and he presented them to family and friends as a sign of his moral virtue. But in fact, one of the things that happened on the Grand Tour, it was the job of the relative to find the man suitable women to have sex with, particularly Italian women. They were sexy, they were a lot looser, and that was part of what the man engaged in on the Grand Tour. Now, what did the woman engage in the Grand Tour? Think about this time. At this time, women's bodies were completely covered. They had no space to show jewelry. So the jewelry had to be really large. Large earrings, large necklaces, large bracelets, large brooches. These things, intaglios, became brooches. Initially, they were made in stone and as seals, and they showed Greek and Roman mythology. They showed famous people, for example, George Washington. For women, they showed long, straight noses, which were seen as beautiful at the time, and a Romanesque full body. By the way, the women didn't have the sexual experiences that the men did when they were traveling on these Grand Tours. These things were super expensive, but a guy came up with an idea to do them very cheaply, and he became the master of these things. His name was James Tassie, an Irishman, and a great carver, a stone carver. I still today cannot believe how these things were done. They're so precise. They're so beautifully carved. They stand out just perfectly. Now, I have a little bit of damage on some, but some are just perfect. I've looked at these things through a magnifying glass, and as close as you get, they're just beautiful. Now, as you're watching this, you may be asking yourself, how can I get one? Well, you can. On eBay, if you search intaglio, and in some cases Tassie, you will find both originals, original individual ones, original books, and copies. People have made pretty good copies of these plaster of Paris objects, and they're really fun to have. They're like collecting coins, and they're not too expensive if you buy the copy. I'm really proud that I have these books. I've always wanted to make jewelry out of them. I don't know how to do it, so I've never done it, but they sit in my garage, and when I have a sort of a cold winter day in my mind, I go out to the garage, I open the book, I look at these Tassies, I look real close. I try not to touch them because my fingers rub off some of the plaster of Paris, and I just imagine the time of the Grand Tour for men, for women, for the rich, and then for the upper middle class. Thank you for watching David Hoffman, filmmaker. Thank you for watching this story. If you feel so inclined and you have the capability, please support me on Patreon, www.patreon.com, because it's my patrons who make it possible for me to make these videos. I love making them. I hope you like watching them. Intaglios, Tassies, the Grand Tour.